conductor. A conductor in an orchestra is someone who is able to make all the music without actually holding on to anything, but they actually are the ones that are actually capturing that rhythm now. Or think about a lightning conductor, like an electric conductor is one that actually allows flow to occur. Even if you take the idea of a train or bus conductor, is basically the one that actually is there to kind of just acknowledge everyone who's on that journey and actually saying we're going somewhere now. So this word conductor and conduct is what allows flow to happen. At every one of these different levels, you're going to see whether you're at infrared level as the victim, just getting out of debt and getting going, whether you're at survivor level, looking to go positive. At every level, there are 3 steps which can be summed up as showing up, which is step 1. So we have already taken the step 1, which is measure your money, showing up and being just present to say, here's where I'm at. Then stepping up. It's a little bit like getting into a gear, like, okay, I'm in 2nd gear now, here's where I'm at, okay. And then stepping up, which is like, okay, I'm gonna engage the gear now. So that's what commit to conduct is. It's like, right, here's where I'm at, I'm gonna engage at this level now. The 3rd one, which is like revving up to the point where it's like, hey, I'm ready to step up to the next gear, that's what I call giving back. Because you're giving the gear back to get up to the next level. And that's what we're gonna get onto after this 2nd step, the 3rd step, which is do your duty, which you will find immediately before you've even gone out and built some big business or got lots of investments, is a huge payoff at actually moving up from infrared to red level, where you're now being of real value to everyone around you in a way that's keeping you not just like in value, but also moving positive as well. So this is what conductor is all about. And what you're going to find is that at this level, it's all about 3 things. And these 3 key things are the things that you're going to find within the 10 steps of the assessment. There's 10 statements, and at every one of these levels, you're going to actually take these statements. You're going to say, I'm on a 0 to 10 scale. Okay, am I a 2 out of 10 on that? Am I a 3 out of 10 on that? And it allows you to focus at one thing and do it well, and then improve that one area. Because once you've set this up, in my experience is everyone who's ever been at infrared level, struggling their whole life, can move out within a matter of months when they're just focused at doing the right thing, and more importantly, when they're not getting defocused or distracted doing the wrong thing. So what are these 3 different areas, these 3 different questions that are answered through these 10? The first one, are you growing positive flow? Because remember, a conductor is someone that's conducting flow. Are you growing positive flow in your thoughts and actions? You don't need money or resources or things you don't have to get going in life. There are 3 different types of capital. There's something which you'll probably hear a lot about in the finance markets called financial capital, like when you own a property or when you own shares in a business. And for a lot of people, it's like, oh, that's how wealth is created. Well, actually, it's not. That's the end result of wealth being created through the other 2 types of capital. The first one is called intellectual capital, which is your thoughts. It's the things you actually turn into action yourself. Think about any brand you know. Think about any product that's come up. It's the intellectual capital that went into that, which turned into money flow, which then turned into financial capital. And the second one is social capital. Social capital is your trust, it's your relationships, it's the people around you. We can build all these for free. In fact, the only thing it costs to build these is an investment in something we all have, which is time. We all have the same 24 hours of time, whether you're a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson, whether you're someone who basically is out of a job or trying to find a job for the first time as a student. We all have the same 24 hours. And how we convert those 24 hours into our intellectual and social capital will have all the difference as to how we turn that into our conduct. So the first thing there is, are you growing positive flow in your thoughts and actions? The second one is, are you growing positive flow in your strategies and support? So this is about, are we even following the right strategies which is allowing positive flow to grow? And the third one is, are you growing positive flow in your criteria and certainty? The biggest problem at infrared level is it's kind of like having infrared goggles on where everything is like heat waves. You can't even see clearly. So you might even go read all the books on how to be more successful. You'll go and meet someone who's giving you opportunities. Would you like to come work with me to do this or this? And the biggest problem is you can't even make a decision as to what to do. It's like, I don't know even what I should be doing right now. And that's not because you can't make a decision. It's because the criteria is not clear as to how to make the decision. So I'll give you a story about this, and I shared this also in the book. This is a story about Rustika Lamb. And Rustika, when I met her, she's in New Zealand, and she was in serious negative cash flow. She had been caught out with the property market with a lot of other people. She had been going on, this was several years ago, she had been going on a series of courses on how to invest in property. She'd put all her life savings into the property. She'd got a number of different properties, and then the market went south. And suddenly she was in negative equity. She wasn't even earning enough from her job to pay for all the mortgage payments. And she was like, what should I do? How should I do it? She was thinking, I've lost all this money already. So we started working together, and I said, okay, first thing you need to do is measure your money, know where you're at. And when she did that, well, first of all, she was shocked by how bad it was. But the second thing was, because our whole focus was to go to positive, that meant she had to actually sell off some of those properties immediately, even with a big loss. But she was better off doing that to go into positive cash flow and make sure that the job that she actually had at that point was at least giving her something. So she did that. Now at this point, that wasn't a very motivating place to be in. And that's why, again, in terms of commit to conduct, in terms of thoughts, actions, strategy, support, when we went through and said, well, let's look at the bigger picture of where this is going. By you actually training yourself up now to get discipline to go forward, where do you want it to take you? That gave her a chance to kind of just breathe for a moment and say, well, where do I really want to go? I didn't even want to be a property investor. I was just doing that because I thought it was a way to actually get some financial independence. But what do I really want to do if I could do anything? And she looked and saw that there was this whole movement happening within e-learning, within online learning, that she was really passionate about. She had a young family. She was really excited about her daughter coming out to the green school in Bali, where my kids were being educated. You know, she really believed that education was the key to changing things in the future, but she had no experience at e-learning or anything around that area. So I said, well, what could be some easy ways that you can now actually start growing your income by just committing to conduct and being in the right place, right time? How could you be doing that in a way that you now were actually learning about this industry, where you were earning the right to be in this industry, and at the same time where you were earning the money you needed to be able to get by in life? So the first thing she did was she set how much money she needed. That was the first step, which is about measuring your money. She said, okay, I'm going to earn this extra couple of $1,000s. No idea how. I'm just going to make that happen. Okay, what could you do in terms of being in the right place, right time to be with those right people that would allow you to be learning this at the same time? She goes, well, right now in New Zealand, there isn't any kind of like e-learning conferences or workshops. Perhaps I could help organize them, but no one really knows who I am. It's like, well, what if you didn't have to worry about you? Who is out there around the world who are experts at e-learning? She found some experts in America. She contacted them, said, would you be interested in coming out to New Zealand if I could get some of the associations involved in this as well? They said, sure, we would. She found out how much they were going to charge. She then went to some of the associations that were starting up in e-learning and said, I want to be running a workshop here where I could actually be bringing some good people in. Of course, they were interested in that as well. So straight away, she had a way that she could be making some money from that. And in addition to that, she also, by bringing them out and actually getting connected in with that, she found a way that she could actually start building her own base as well through the contacts she had. See, her background at that point was in helping people organize things. She was a blaze genius, which meant she was really great with people. And she had a friend who had a business called Bloom, which was a headhunting business. He had been trying to get Rustika to come and work with him. And Rustika was like, well, it's not really my passion where I want to go. I said, well, what if this helps you to hit your number, would that be worth it? And she goes, well, yes, but it's still not my passion. It's like, right, and now we're talking about the next level up we'll get to. But I said, right, well, how could you make it so that you'd be able to learn about e-learning at the same time as helping him by making this happen? And what she did was she actually effectively earned her own job. She actually set up a division within Bloom, which was specifically for e-learning recruitment, which she then headed up. She got a salary for doing the job. She got connected in with all the people in the industry for doing it. And off the back of that, she ran the first New Zealand conference for e-learning that it has had. And from there, she's now grown an entire business out of it. And she's now being headhunted up to higher and higher levels, a long, long, long way away from where she started just 2 years ago, where she was deeply in debt, struggling to figure out what to do. And she's now on the passion, she's now on her passion, she's on her purpose, doing the things that she loves. But she was doing it by making sure she followed the right steps in the right order. So as I said, first thing is, are you growing positive flow in your thoughts and actions? When you take the assessment, you'll see that. Secondly, are you growing positive flow in your strategies and support? And thirdly, are you growing positive flow in your criteria and certainty? We set up with Rustika, based on where she wanted to go, what was the criteria she was going to set for her making decisions. And she made sure that they were criteria that allowed her to follow her path. There were criteria that would allow her to make sure that she was earning the money that she had set in her goals. And there were criteria which allowed her to be able to fail forward, where she would never be taking too much of a risk where she would lose everything, but where she'd continue to stretch herself in ways that would allow her to take herself up to the next level as well. And off the back of that, what's most important is that she was following a way that was natural for her. She's a blaze genius, and blaze geniuses are the kind of people that love people. So the big thing that would stop her and always be the biggest challenge for her was she'd be taking on too many distractions. She'd be following too many opportunities. So by setting criteria which actually stopped that from happening, so she would actually start saying no to opportunities that didn't support her path, the more she was able to then keep focused, which is what you need at this point. I'm a dynamo genius, and so dynamo geniuses have a totally different problem, which is that we're trying to take on too many of our own ideas and we have a big to-do list. So one of the most important things to do as a dynamo genius as you're taking the second step is you're not focusing so much at how do I expand things. You're actually focusing more at how do I enhance things? How do I improve the value of what I have as opposed to just trying to chase things all the time and leaving everyone behind. Tempo genius. Remember the tempo geniuses that I share, every one of them, they've got a tempo, they've got a rhythm to making sure that everything is grounded, but at the same time they won't always have the big picture. So making sure that you're committing to conduct in a way that's keeping you in the environment with others around you that are the right people to support you so that you can find those next steps for yourself and serve them is critical. And then obviously as a steel genius, you're very good at the detail, you're very good at the analysis, but it doesn't mean you're out in front of everyone the whole time. So knowing how you make sure you're again in the right environment so that you're committing to a conduct where you're connecting the flow between your genius, which is how to calculate and analyze, with the flow of the market, who are the people who actually need that calculation, who need that ability to analyze. That's a key part to this as well. Once you've actually gone through those 10 and assessed where you're at, then take the playbook and see exactly in the playbook where you can improve and focus on those areas of improving. Don't expect this is going to happen overnight, but do expect that by just focusing at this, you're going to find new opportunities showing up. What does it look like if it's working? If it's working, you're going to be able to go to the pre-flight checklist and you're going to be able to check off on each of those 3 things. Number 1, I have designed my relationships, environment, spaces, and travel to keep me in flow at my best. Remember, it's about flow of information and flow of energy before you get flow of money. It's what's happening naturally to you in the same way you don't just go to a garden and just hope everything's going to be growing. You've got to give it the right sunshine, you've got to give it the right water. You look after the garden in the right way and you're going to start creating that attraction within that garden as it starts to grow. So the first thing is, have I designed all of my relationships, environment, spaces, and travel to keep me in flow at my best? The second one, I follow a rhythm to plan my time and activities every year, month, and week that keeps me balanced and inspired. Because infrared is a bit like drowning. It feels like trying to swim an entire length of the swimming pool without taking any breaths. The moment you realize it's those breaths and that ability to actually be able to see what's really happening from the outside, which makes all the difference, that it's the lack of that breath which has actually caused the infrared to happen, where everything's a panic, everything needs to be done now. But now it's like, hey, look at this. There are ways I can actually do the extra bit. There are ways I can actually change my conduct so that I'm actually being a conductor for others. So the flow from them is coming through me. And then the third thing, which is I have a daily rhythm that energizes me in mind, body, spirit, keeping me in good health and vitality. And that's one of the biggest things that happened for me was the moment that I was back in the house with Renata after our car had been towed away. And I'm like, we're gonna have to change this. We're gonna have to fix this. And we actually sat and we started just having a heart-to-heart about where we wanted to go in life, what we wanted to achieve. The biggest shift that happened from that day was we decided to value ourselves more. She says, Roger, you gotta take some time out from your business. You gotta just get basically back into some kind of like level mode, go join a club, go get exercise. We just got back to balance again and realized that no one's died, we're still here, but we actually have a chance now to be able to start really putting a proper plan in place where we can actually really start building in a way that we earn the right to be able to go up those levels of the spectrum. If it's working for you and you're doing these things well, not only are you checking off on those, the most important thing is you suddenly find that all of those challenges you have about having to get my idea out there. Why aren't people supporting me in my idea? Having to have an opinion. This is what I think about that politician or about that person with their business. Suddenly, it wasn't so important for people to hear me out, to hear you out as someone at infrared level, where you're thinking the only way I can get self-worth is for people to hear me. Suddenly it's like, hey, you know what? I didn't have to worry about saying any of those things. I don't have to be criticizing people or looking at how I can be, getting my idea out there. I can be serving others, and my sense of self-worth at the end of the day comes from coming home and actually seeing that positive flow that I created ended up with some money in my pocket. It allowed me to start creating a pathway forwards. And in the same way that Rustika now is taking amazing steps forward, it's almost like she delayed the gratification of having to do her own thing first, to first of all serving others, because it's always easier to be able to be a conductor for others and create some cash flow through that when you're at infrared level than have to go out there trying to make it happen for yourself. So these are the key steps to take. Do the assessment, go to the playbook, go through those steps, and then as you start to see that grow, get ready for the third step at infrared level.